Hey parents, last week I presented at our school district's Board of Trustees meeting on the proposal to ban smartphones in our schools at the elementary and middle school level. Our Student Health Advisory Committee invited several speakers, including teachers, substitute teachers, parents, and myself, to talk about the problems smartphones present in the school environment. This policy was passed unanimously, and I was happy to see that happen, as many schools in the state of Texas and in our country have already passed this policy. Many are banning phones even for high school students. I know this will be not very popular for most kids and actually a lot of parents, including many of my friends. So I want to share some of my talking points from my presentation last week. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Laura Ollinger. I have a master's in health and wellness education. I'm a teen and parent well-being coach. I am a licensed neuroencoding specialist. I'm a national board certified health and wellness coach. I have an advanced certificate in cognitive and behavioral neuroscience, but my biggest credential is that I am the mom of 2 middle schoolers and 2 high schoolers. So if I were to ask you if these things are a good idea, you would probably say no. Giving your kids ice cream for breakfast when they're 2 years old, maybe letting your 4-year-old watch horror movies before bedtime, or letting your 16-year-old drive a Lamborghini. Now picture this. Imagine having a Walkman, a walkie-talkie, a Nintendo gaming system, or an Atari, a painting set, and a guitar all sitting on your desk when you were in school. How well do you think that would have worked out for your grades? Probably not awesome. So let's ask ourselves, why do our kids go to school in the first place? I think it's helpful to start there just to get a reboot. So we know that they go for academic learning and social emotional development. I have tons of research about this topic, but just to give you a few of the studies that I had time to present in my presentation last week, there's a study by Adrienne Ward who put a bunch of kids in a classroom and asked them to put their phones either out in the hallway, on their desk, in their pocket, or in their backpack. And so if they were in the classroom with their phones, the phones did have to be turned off. Well, what they discovered was that the phones that were outside is the situation that caused the students to perform the best on the various tasks. So even in the different locations, it was still just bar none that the kids performed much better when the phones were outside of the classroom. A 2015 study by Beelan and Murphy found that banning mobile phones in schools led to significant improvements in test scores among 16-year-old students. The improvement was equivalent to adding 5 school days to the year. Now multiply 5 days by 12 years. That could be 60 days of potential learning that could be lost if our kids are distracted with phones. And if we want our kids to have a cognitive advantage, we need to get the phones out of schools. Next, there's just a whole host of behavioral issues. Research from the University of Maryland indicates that smartphone use is associated with decreased patience and self-control and increased impulsivity among kids. The presence of smartphones can disrupt the classroom, not just for the users, but also for the surrounding students. Research shows that when some students use electronic devices, it negatively affects the performance of all students around them, reducing overall class performance on final exams. And a little anecdotal story that I heard from the presentations last week, apparently one child, or maybe multiple, would put their phones in their pocket and ask to go to the bathroom, only to be found 20 minutes later by the teacher playing video games in the bathroom. And this was for like a 4th or 5th grader. I also heard stories about kids from multiple different classrooms texting each other to coordinate so they could just like meet up and hang out and socialize in the bathroom during class time. The next issue we've got is content control. So this affects me personally. I'll never forget when my daughter was only 11 years old. She told me that she saw porn for the first time in her science class at her middle school in 6th grade. So that's the thing, we lose the ability to control what our kids are seeing because of other kids' devices. Next, we've got cyberbullying. We could just talk for hours and hours just about this. And so one story also affects me, which is when my daughter was in 8th grade, she actually stopped eating a solid lunch at school because there was an anonymous Instagram account that people would take pictures and then post on this anonymous account just to embarrass the kids for like taking a bite of their lunch or just like, trying to catch them in an awkward position. And at that age, they're very obviously sensitive, but no one wants to be caught, doing something that's not so flattering. We know that cyberbullying produces feelings of shame and humiliation. Shame is a very powerful motivator, and in the very worst cases, kids will take their own lives to avoid painful feelings of being bullied or cyberbullied. Just last month, a boy in Indiana by the name of Sammy died by suicide at the age of only 10 because he was being bullied at school. There is also widespread concern about just mental health and the impact of smartphones, including increased anxiety, depression, and other issues that have risen with the advent of smartphones and social media. So if we ask ourselves what our job is as parents, there are two kind of main things, which is to love and nurture our kids and also to have a level of boundaries or what is called demandingness. That was first described by a researcher named Diana Brimrond at the University of California in Berkeley in the 60s. So that is kind of the ideal parenting style where we love our kids, we care about their feelings, but we also want to keep them safe and we have rules and expectations. So I see our teachers and school administrators as extensions of the parents. They are responsible for the safety of our kids and overseeing the environment in the learning and social context. So here's the thing, none of us like to say no, right? It is not fun. We don't want to feel like we're the bad guy. And as parents, we want to ensure our kids' safety and we want to be able to contact them in case of an emergency. It's a totally natural and valid concern, and I totally get that. Many of us share that concern. Although the likelihood of a true emergency is extremely low. But beyond emergencies, smartphones offer the convenience of staying in touch with our kids throughout the school day, whether it's to change plans, coordinate pickups, or just simply check in. The ease of communication is something that we all value greatly. I too love the convenience of being able to text specifically my boys because at lunch a lot of times they'll be making plans for the weekend and they'll message me saying, hey mom, can we invite this friend and this friend and this friend over for a sleepover and we can make our plans and it's easy and that way our weekend is all planned out. But just like we know, it's not really a good idea to let our kids eat ice cream every day for breakfast or to hand them the keys to a Lamborghini when they first get their license. We need to remind ourselves that we are the responsible decision makers for our kids. And even if it's not popular or it's not comfortable or there is some period of adjustment, we need to do what's best for our kids through helping them be in a good environment where they can learn, not have distractions, not be bullied, not have the temptation to jump onto their device to kind of distract them or avoid difficult feelings or just even coping with some stressful environment. That is what is kind of proven that kids will grab or even adults will grab their device. And we're all guilty of doing it. We'll be working on a difficult project, say, and suddenly you're wondering what the weather's gonna be tomorrow, right? Our minds tend to wonder, and why make it more difficult for our kids? Thanks, and please share this message, comment, like, follow, whatever you want to do, but I would love for people to get involved in this conversation. Thanks.